Happy New Year, it's time for a new lore compilation. I don't have too much to say this time around, just again I feel the need to thank all of you like I do every one of these videos. The fact that I'm not only seeing the channel hit the numbers it does, but also see it continue to grow, it just blows my mind. And I am incredibly thankful to every one of you who comments, likes, subscribes, or even just watches my videos. My only New Year's resolution is to keep working hard on videos for y'all. This video is going to be a compilation of all my shorts from August of this year. Let's get into it. Eggman had a crush on Ella in the Sonic X comics. Eggman's run as the wrestler El Gran Gordo seemed to make him very popular with the ladies. One of those ladies happened to be the Thorndyke's maid, Ella, who seemed convinced she and the masked wrestler went to school together, and he does seem to return some form of feelings for her. The crush returns in issue 34 of the series, as Eggman attempts to use a pool party as cover to steal an invention from Chris's grandfather, only to be immediately distracted from his plan by Ella in a swimsuit. Completely smitten, he drops his original scheme altogether in favor of attempting to impress Ella. And while this doesn't work out, he definitely ends this issue still completely infatuated with her. The Egg Golem is a boss that appears in Sonic Adventure 2. Once an ancient guardian, Eggman used his tech to turn it into his own guard. While both Sonic and the Doctor take turns doing battle with the living statue, the Egg Golem apparently survives this, as it later makes an appearance in the 2019 IDW Sonic Annual. Still protecting the remains of Eggman's pyramid base, the construct does battle with Rough and Tumble, who were attempting to steal some treasure Eggman left behind. The two actually manage to defeat the Golem and seemingly manage to destroy it. Despite this, the two are scared off by Rouge, claiming the pyramid is cursed. In reality, she was protecting a group of villagers who had begun living in the abandoned pyramid, as well as earning some treasure from them. Bokkun is Eggman's messenger robot who debuted in Sonic X. While today he has pretty much remained exclusive to the anime and its related comic series, he was at one point planned to make an appearance in the mainline Archie series. Carl Bohlers planned to introduce the robot after issue 134 had he not left his position as the book's main writer, though it's not clear how big of a role Bokkun would have been given. Bokkun does get to make one appearance in the main Archie series though. In the off-panel comic in issue 217, Cream celebrates finally making her debut in the series, only to get a phone call, which she immediately hangs up on. The next panel reveals that Bokkun was the caller, now having to break the bad news to El Gran Gordo and Chris Thorndyke that they won't be making their mainline debut anytime soon. Jacques and Belle Ducolette are characters who appear in the Archie Sonic comics. Appearing in the Light Mobius timeline, they are the potential future children of Antoine and Bunnie. The two join an impromptu freedom fighters team and help Sonic and company do battle against Tikhaos. Most interestingly, they have cybernetics, much like their mother. While Ian Flynn confirmed that they were not born with their cybernetics, it was never settled on a reason why they had them. Aurora is a character who appears in the Archie Sonic comics. First appearing in the storyline Afterlife as a deity-like figure, she guides Knuckles through visions of his life after he had passed on, meaning to show him the true meaning of his life before he ascends. Don't worry, Knuckles gets better, comics are weird. Aurora would make an appearance after this, having been chosen as one of the replacements for the Ancient Walkers after they had been destroyed. Despite the fact that she states she only appears as an echidna because it's what Knuckles can comprehend, it's revealed in Archie's Complete Sonic Encyclopedia that she was once a Chaos researcher much like Enerjack and had ascended to her deity-like position in the Chaos Force. Shade the Echidna is a character who debuted in Sonic Chronicles. Despite only having one game appearance and her current status being difficult, thanks Ken, she did make a handful of appearances in the Archie Sonic comics. She is firmly established to be part of the world pre-reboot, as she and the Nocturnus clan make appearances in the Mobius timeline and the Complete Sonic Encyclopedia. However, her only proper appearance is in the unconnected one-shot Chronicles tie-in story Invaders from Beyond, where she and the Nocturnus clan steal a Chaos Emerald and kidnap Knuckles. However, this story was originally going to be connected to the main continuity, as the pencils of an earlier version featured Julie Sue. This predated any legal drama, so why this was dropped isn't completely clear. Bob Beaky is Sonic's alter ego that appears in the Fleetway Sonic comics. Being that Sonic is very easily recognized, having a disguise to avoid immediately being spotted by Robotnik isn't a bad idea. So he puts on an outfit that covers the entirety of his body, as well as a fake beak to get closer to the Doctor's operations. This disguise is eventually expanded as the Freedom Fighters begin traveling undercover as Bob Beaky's traveling circus, with Beaky of course acting as the ringmaster. Their caravan, however, is eventually destroyed by Supersonic, and the disguises don't really make an appearance after this. Bob Beaky is also one of many characters who make unauthorized cameos in issue 134 of Archie Sonic. Whether this is a character in-universe who just happens to look like Fleetway Sonic's alter ego, or the alternate version of the heroic hedgehog decided to pop by this universe is unknown, but the latter is not without precedent. Did you know Sonic sleeps in a racecar bed? First conceptualized all the way back in the concept art for Sat AM, the bed would make its first actual appearance in issue 51 of the Archie comics, and would make occasional appearances throughout the pre-reboot up until its final appearance in issue 235. But despite its long absence from the series, Sonic's given a very similar looking racecar bed in the Sonic movies. Azuka seems to approve. So Shadow the Hedgehog is getting a manga series. Starting in the October issue of Koro Koro Comics, apparently set to release mid-September, Shadow will be getting his own series. The series will feature art from Yuki Yamada, who I think has a really cool art style from everything I've seen. We don't know too much about the plot just yet, though it's been pointed out that Koro Koro Comics features a lot of gag manga. And while that is true of previous times they've published Sonic, I still enjoyed those, and they've done ones with an overarching narrative focus before. I've been waiting for a Shadow spin-off comic for a while, so regardless of what it ends up being, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm definitely planning on covering it. Lien-Da is an antagonist in the Archie Sonic comics and is the half-sister of Julie Sue. The child of Luger, the head of the Dark Legion, she and her brother Kragok conspired to end him to become the joint Grand Masters of the Dark Legion. However, the weapon Lien-Da was given to end Luger was sabotaged, leaving her in a coma, allowing Kragok to take control of the Dark Legion alone. Though as consolation, he did promote her to Commissar of the Legion. Though she would eventually become the leader, she would find her leadership constantly undermined, either by conflict within the Legion or the group becoming subservient to the Eggman Empire or the Iron Dominion. She would nearly meet her end when the Iron Queen detonated the explosives within her cybernetics, though Eggman would save her, stating that while he fully expects her to try to betray him, that he also knows she'll work hard to get all the benefits of working for him, an arrangement which she agrees to. Lien-Da would unfortunately be one of many characters who'd abruptly be removed from the comic as she was created by Ken Penders. Brutus Kintobor is a character who appears in the Archie Sonic comics. Arriving on the floating island appearing peacefully, he and the other overlanders really came to plunder the land for its resources. However, thanks to the telepathic abilities of the fire ants, don't worry about it, the then Emerald Guardian Steppenwolf is able to foil their schemes, and forces them to agree to never return to the island. And while Brutus himself seems to have held to that agreement, the overlanders in time would try to attack the island once more, this time by launching a missile at it, though this plan would be foiled as well. Adam is an antagonist who appears in the Archie Sonic comics. A sentient computer virus that Eggman regards as his son, he was created during Sonic's time off-world and controls Eggman's main computer as well as any tech linked to it. However, he would turn on his creator, acting secretly as a figure known as Anonymous, sabotaging the Doctor's plans and even pushing the blame on his robot sister, M. While Eggman eventually figures out his creation's treacherous nature, it's proven to be too late to simply delete him as he's already spread his program through nanites, taking over Tommy Turtle's body entirely. Thankfully for everyone else, Tommy temporarily regained control of his body just long enough to sacrifice himself in order to defeat Adam. Lee Moon is a character who appears in the Archie Sonic comics. Living in the Dragon Kingdom, she and her grandfather are two of the Free People, as they are not aligned with the Iron Dominion or any of the clans. She first meets Sonic and Tails back in issue 60, telling them all about the constantly burning mountain of Mount Stormtop. She would appear much later in the Sonic Universe arc Journey to the East, where it seems she and Tails may have developed some type of crush on one another. I guess Tails has a type. It's mainly in the background and not too much attention is drawn to it, but I think it's cute. The Indestructible Bulk is a character who appears in the Fleetway Sonic comics. Once the scientist Dr. Bob Bobble, after being ignored at a New Year's party, the Doctor decides to experiment on himself using a Delta Ray machine, with the intent of making himself more muscular. However, the experiment goes awry, turning himself into a giant purple monster known as the Indestructible Bulk. I do have some questions. The Beast attacks the New Year's party, leading to Sonic and the Chaotix doing battle with him, though their attacks are completely ineffectual. However, the Bulk continues to grow in size until he finds himself unable to move. This is until Vector finds the Delta Ray machine and fires it at the Bulk in reverse, turning the Beast back into Bob Bobble. And after that, Sonic promptly destroys the machine. The last we'll see of the indestructible Bulk. Captain Stryker is a character who appears in the post-reboot Archie Sonic comics. The captain of the city guard of the underwater city of Meropis, he first meets Sonic and company in issue 260. While he's already distrustful of outsiders and frustrated that the sacred Chao is yet to be reborn, Sonic immediately sets about getting on his nerves too. Despite this, when the city is under siege by Dark Gaia monsters, the two do manage to work together. Additionally, he does seem to have some form of rivalry with Razor the Shark, though they also seem to be able to interact more casually. Tikhaos is a character who appears in the Archie Sonic comics. Appearing in the Light Mobius timeline, at some point in the past, Tikal's spirit had to fuse with Chaos, with the off-panel comics offering a unique explanation for this. Being incredibly dangerous, she was subdued and quarantined in the catacombs beneath Castle Mobius, until King Shadow was awoken and decided to take revenge by unleashing her on Mobius after overloading her with chaos energy. Thankfully, the combined efforts of Silver and the future Freedom Fighters manages to be enough to stop her rampage, after which Lara Sue manages to restore her back to a less monstrous form. It seems there might be a chance she exists in Silver's time as well, as Silver mentions there being a global sea with a grudge in his future. But the Light Mobius timeline is also separate from Silver's time, so not completely clear. Gemerl is a character who first debuted in Sonic Advance 3. Repaired by Tails and now living with Cream and Vanilla, the robot would go on to make appearances in the comics. The robot would debut in Archie during the second Mega Man crossover, though he would be mentioned much earlier. He would go on to face off with Metal Sonic amidst the latter portion of the Shattered World crisis, though would be overwhelmed by the amount of opponents. Gemerl made his IDW debut in issue 18 in the middle of the Metal Virus saga, but has practically become a member of the main cast, often appearing whenever Cream does, dedicated to protecting her no matter the cost. Thankfully though, the stakes are not always that high. The Dark Arms are a subspecies of the Black Arms that appear in the Archie Sonic comics. Genetically altered using DNA from the Wisp, they, along with Eclipse, are among the few survivors from the destruction of the Black Comet. Due to their connection to the Wisp, Eclipse is able to use them to reach powered-up forms and uses them to assist in his attempts to steal the Master Emerald. And while they do fail in that mission, the group is able to escape. Sadly, the comic would end before we would have a chance to see them again. While they are very aesthetically different, Shadow's newly revealed Doom powers for Sonic X Shadow Generations can't help but remind me a little bit of them. The original Freedom Fighters are a group of characters who appear in the Archie Sonic comics, consisting of Colonel Stripe, Spot Long, Sir Peckers, Private Trey Scales, and MP Bullbones. The group first formed when Robotnik took over Old Mobotropolis, doing what they could to evacuate those in the city. They are also responsible for building Knothole into an actual livable village. Their acts of heroics would also inspire Sonic, Sally, and the rest of the Freedom Fighters. However, they would be betrayed by one of their own, Private Trey Scales, who Robotnik would very characteristically betray right back. The team would be roboticized, and as an extra bit of cruelty, would be sent into the void. While their heroes were gone, the new Freedom Fighters would form shortly after. At one time, due to fan demand, Colonel Stripe nearly returned to the comic, but plans changed, and later Ian Flynn would state on his forum that they had been destroyed when the void was turned into the Special Zone by Feist. In the Archie Sonic comics, Shadow and Metal have a fight across 3 different titles. Initially putting aside their differences to fight Scourge, once the Green Hedgehog went super, Metal went back to attacking Sonic, knowing Scourge is invulnerable in that form, leading Shadow to teleport both of them away from the fight and right into the final issue of the Sonic X comics. They each team up with that universe's counterpart of Sonic and Eggman before teleporting again, this time arriving in Blaze's dimension. Shadow attempts to reason with Metal that they are the same, both living weapons, and that Shadow can help him. However, Shadow can't block that overhead and nearly drowns, though is saved by Blaze and Marine. The 3 team up against Metal, and after Shadow fails to reason with Sonic's robotic duplicate a second time, the 3 seemingly are able to destroy him. In reality, he becomes a pirate. The version of Chaos that appears in Sonic the Comic is quite different. Thousands of years in the past, they were once a member of a species known as the Draken. However, while being held captive by the Echidna, they would be mutated by Chaos energy, turning them into Chaos. How the Echidna defeated him is unknown, but he would be sealed away until Robotnik's assistant Grimer unleashed him on Mobius, believing that they could control him with a device Robotnik invented, only for the Doctor to reveal that said device doesn't work. The creature is shown to be nigh invulnerable and has the ability to cause fear in those around them, to the point that those affected can barely move. In the Freedom Fighter's first encounter with the creature, Chaos ends the life of Sonic's friend Johnny Lightfoot, and upon attaining his perfect form, he's only able to be defeated when Super Sonic manages to absorb all the Chaos energy from them, turning them back to their original form. This is the time Shadow got to say goodbye. In issue 171 of the Archie Sonic comics, Shadow finally gets his hands on Professor Gerald's diary, intent on finding out about his past. It ends up being damaged when he's fleeing from Eggman's base, though with the help of Tails and Nicole, they are able to restore it for a short time in the form of a digital world, meeting projections of Gerald and Maria. Shadow is finally told both of his origins and his true purpose, to be the protector of Mobius. As the digital world falls apart around them, Shadow gets to tell Maria goodbye, finally giving him some sort of closure. Queen Alicia Acorn is a character who appears in the Archie Sonic comics and is the mother of Sally. Having married King Max when they were both 18, they had 2 children, Elias and Sally. When the Great War began with the Overlanders, Max sent Alicia and Elias away for their safety, only for them to disappear. Though it was assumed they perished, in reality they crash-landed on Angel Island, Alicia falling into a coma and being placed in cryo-sleep, which she would stay in for 15 years. Eventually she would awaken thanks to a surgery performed by Dr. Quack. Now that Max was 15 years her senior, as his mental and physical condition began to decline, she began to act as his full-time caretaker, even standing up to the wizard Naugus for him. Post-reboot, the Queen is never named, though we see Sally has some vague memories of her mother. Princess Undina is a character who appears in the Archie Sonic comics. The princess of the underwater city of Meropis, after not being chosen as the priestess of the Yusabei Shrine, she decided to study abroad, though she would shortly decide that school bored her and that she wanted to travel the world. During this time, she would be kidnapped by pirates, but would quickly prove to be a valuable member of the crew, being able to translate their treasure maps, with Undina using this skill to manipulate the pirates and aiding her in traveling the world. Though when they would end up stumbling across an actual potentially dangerous item, she and the Chaotix would betray the pirates, stealing their boat. Still though, she had no plans of going home just yet, and instead continues to travel the world with Echo the Dolphin as her bodyguard. Funnily enough, despite being the focus of the last Sonic Universe arc, she makes background cameos much earlier, showing us her travels throughout the world. This is Sonic's band. Way back in the concept art for the first Sonic game, Sonic was conceptualized to have his own band, which would be seen during the sound test. Along with Vector, the other members of the band include Sharps the Parakeet, Mock the Rabbit, and Max the Monkey. And despite never making a proper appearance in the games, these 3 would make appearances throughout the comics. The band as a whole would appear in the opening moments of the Sonic the Hedgehog story manga, shortly before Eggman attacked. Then, many years later, Sharps, Mock, and Max would appear in the Archie comics, now as Mina Mongoose's band, the Forget-Me-Nots. Archie also makes Sharps a chicken instead. The trio would also appear in IDW Sonic's 2021 Free Comic Book Day special. With the group also making a small cameo in the 4th episode of Tails Tube, I think it's only a matter of time before we see them again. Lupe is one of a couple characters in the Archie Sonic comics to have children. At some point in the past, her husband Lobo and her children, Marcos and Maria, had been captured and roboticized, while Lobo was attempting to take them to safety. After they had disappeared, Lupe and the Wolfpack happened across 2 abandoned Overlander children, Ariel and her mute sister Athena, who Lupe would end up adopting as her own. The family would all be properly reunited after the BEM de-roboticized everyone on Mobius, with both Lupe's adopted and biological children getting along exactly the way you'd expect siblings to. Lupe noting that out of the entire Wolfpack, her children are the hardest to govern. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the content I make, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/hsquid. And a special shout out to my $5 patrons, Ned Rex, Nate DM990, Diddly Do, and Queer Kaiju. See y'all in the next video.